Assalamu alaikum. Before we get started, if we could please ask everybody to move forward and to the left. Again, being the last Friday of Ramadan, inshallah, we're expecting a large crowd. So again, if we could ask everybody to please move forward and to the left. As well as in the side sisters hall, if we can have everybody move forward, please. In the main hall, again, I ask all the brothers to move forward and fill the gap to the left. So that way we can accommodate everybody. Jazakallah.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد. All thanks and praise are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whom we thank, seek for help, and invoke for forgiveness. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil within ourselves. He whom Allah guides will never be misled, and he whom Allah allows to be led astray will never find one to guide him. And we bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is his last and final messenger. Alhamdulillah, it truly is a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given each and every single one of us the opportunity and the ability to live through and witness another Ramadan. 2/3 of the month are already gone. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all of our prayers, all of our fasts, all of our du'as. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept any good deeds that we may have done so far in this month. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has given several beautiful names to the Quran. And each of these names indicates towards the high status, the significance, the magnificence, and the beauty of the Quran. And one of the names or one of the titles that has been given to the Quran is al-dhikr, the reminder. And the reason why the Quran has been called the reminder is because first and foremost, it reminds us about the existence and the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we recite the Quran, when we listen to its verses, we are reminded about the might, the power, the magnificence, the glory, the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are reminded about our relationship to Him, that He is our Lord, our Creator, our Sustainer. He's the one that gives us food and drink and life and death. And we're also reminded about our responsibilities towards Him. The Quran also reminds us about the reality of the life of this world and the next. And this is a very common theme throughout the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that this world is temporary. So whenever we approach the Quran and read the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us realize that the life of this world will not last forever. It's very temporary, it's very ephemeral. It's going to pass very quickly. And that the life of the hereafter, the life to come, is a life of eternity. And the month of Ramadan is a very good reminder of how short life truly is. This month itself makes us realize how quickly time passes by. And I'm sure all of us sitting here are feeling the exact same thing. We're all thinking the exact same thing. That the month came and it went by so quickly. That more than 23 days, 24 days have passed, but it only feels like a few days. When we look back, it looks like Ramadan just started a few days ago. And that's exactly how the life of this world is. That when this life ends, we're going to look back and we're going to wonder, where in the world did the time go? In the hereafter, when we look back towards this world, we're going to feel like we only spent a few hours here, or only a few days. And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us of in the Quran. So in Surah Al-Hadid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد. That know. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He starts off this verse by telling us, know for a fact that this is a certainty, this is a reality. That the life of this world is nothing but la'ib. It's play. Lahwan, amusement. Zinatun, beauty, adornment. وَتَفَاخُرٌ بَيْنَكُمْ, competition between you, showing off. وَتَكَاثُرٌ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَوْدَادِ, and competing with each other in wealth and in children. So in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has highlighted 5 stages of life that every single one of us passes through as we grow up from infancy to adulthood. So He first says that the first stage of life is la'ib, it's play. The second one is lahwun, amusement. The third is zinatun, adornment and beauty. The fourth is tafakhurun baynakum, showing off or competition. And the fifth is takathurun fil amwali wal awlad, competing with each other in wealth and children. And each and every single one of us here today is at some stage in life. We're at one point in these 5 stages described by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at every single stage, we think that is the most important thing. So when we're children, when we're toddlers, we think and we have a certain perspective on life. Then when we grow up and we get into middle school, our perspective changes. We start thinking differently. When we get to high school, again, our perspective changes. When we're in university, it changes again. And then when we graduate, we settle down, we have a family, again it changes. So when we're children, when we're toddlers, our main focus in life is simply playing and having fun. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes to us as la'ib. And this is the main focus of all children. The only thing they care about in this world is their toys. The only thing they want to do is play and have fun. And this is something that I see in my own 2 daughters. Right? They're both very young, and their only concern right now is playing, is having fun with all of their toys. They could care less about their shoes and their clothes and jewelry and accessories or having the latest iPhone or getting the new Apple Watch or whatever it is. None of these things matter to them. They don't care about what car we drive or where we live or how we look. The only thing they want to do is have fun. They just want to play. So much so that if you give them an empty box, they can spend hours playing with it and having fun. And if they lose one of their toys, it's the end of the world. Right? They'll start crying for hours and that's it. So the most important and significant thing at that time is just playing. But then as they grow older, as they progress in life, and they reach about the middle school age, suddenly their perspective in life changes. And it goes from playing from la'ib to lahwun, to amusement. Now everything in life is about being entertained. It's about enjoyment. It's about being occupied with something to do. So lahwun is something that is simply done for amusement or entertainment. And that's what we see most kids in middle school. All they care about is playing sports and video games. Their entire life revolves around basketball and football or being outside or playing their Xbox or their PlayStation, whatever else it may be. And this is something that all of us here experienced as well. Right? I myself, when I was in middle school, the only thing I cared about was playing basketball. School didn't matter. What clothes we wear, how we look didn't matter. The only thing we cared about is after school, we'd go to the park and be there for 4 or 5 hours a day just playing. And at that moment in life, we think that is the most important and the most significant thing. Nothing else matters. And when we look back at our childhood, we felt like we wasted time. And when we look up at high schoolers, we think they're strange and weird. And we look at our parents, we think they're even more stranger. And that's the most important thing. But then slowly again we grow up and we progress. And we reach that very awkward stage, right? When we hit the age of puberty, all of a sudden we become very self-conscious. We become extremely image conscious. And all of a sudden life becomes about how we look. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this as zina, as beauty and adornment. So all of a sudden now, instead of taking a few minutes to get ready in the morning, it takes a few hours. Right? You got to stand in front of the mirror, make sure you look nice and your hair is all gelled up and lined up. You have to make sure you look good. All of a sudden, your hijab has to match your shoes or whatever else it may be. And life becomes about how we look. So we have to have the brand name clothes, the nicest shoes, the nicest phone, the nicest tablet and computer, all of the latest electronic gadgets, and everything becomes about this image. It becomes about beauty and what people think about us. And then at that point in life, we think that is the most important and the most significant thing. Nothing else matters. But then again, as we grow older, our perspective shifts once again. Our perspective changes. Now all of a sudden, we're in college. We're in university. We're pursuing a career. We're thinking about what we want to do in life. And now life becomes about tafakhurun bainakum. It becomes about showing off. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes it as. Now all of a sudden, we're not too concerned about our clothes. We're not really concerned about the brand names or the nicest shoes anymore. But what we're focused on is what university we got into, what major we're doing or what we're majoring in, what we're studying, what awards have I gotten, what internships I'm working at. And we start comparing ourselves to our classmates, or we start comparing ourselves to our social circle. And we start boasting and showing off to one another. And at that moment in life, that is the most important thing. And when we look back at our high school days, we think we wasted our time. It went to waste. We didn't do anything that was of any significance. But then again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that this even changes. That once you grow older and you get married and you settle down, you have children, none of these things matter whatsoever. But now life becomes about تَكَاثُرٌ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَوْلَادِ. Competition in wealth and children. So now we're settled down, we're married, we have a nice house, a nice car, but we don't really care about these things. Our main focus is on our wealth, how much money we earn. How can we maximize our savings and our profits? We have to make sure our 401k is healthy, we have a nice retirement plan set up. We have savings for our children so we can pay for their education. And it all becomes about what neighborhood we live in, how big our house is, how nice our car is. And we start showing off about our children, that mashallah, my student or my son or my daughter, they did this and they do this and they're getting this degree and that degree. Mashallah, my son is becoming a doctor, my daughter's becoming an engineer. And we start showing off about these things. And subhanAllah, we actually see our parents doing this. That whenever our parents in our gathering, their primary focus is talking about their children. And they're showing off about their children to others. That look at what they've accomplished, look at how great they are, etc., etc. And that's something we see our parents doing. And it's probably something we'll be doing as well when all of us become parents. So these are the stages of life that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala details to us in the Quran. And as I mentioned, every single one of us sitting here today, we are somewhere along this timeline. And the interesting thing is that at whatever stage we're in, we think that is what life is all about. We think that is the most important and most significant thing. But when we progress and we look back, we think we have completely wasted our time. We think that we didn't do anything important. And we think that all of those years went to waste. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then reminds us of. He reminds us of the reality of the life of this world. That this life is temporary. It's fleeting. It's going to come to an end. That none of this is actually significant or important. So he gives us an example to help us recognize the temporary nature of this world. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, كَمَثَلِ غَيْثٍ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتٌ. This life of this world, the example of it is like the resulting vegetation from rain. كَمَثَلِ غَيْثٍ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتٌ. That the resulting vegetation from rain, it pleases the farmers. That when they see all of their crops growing, and they're lush and they're green, and all these crops are growing, they become happy. They become pleased. But then he tells us, ثُمَّ يَهِيجُ فَتَرَاهُ مُصْفَرًّا. But then all of these crops and vegetation and plants, they dry and they become yellow. ثُمَّ يَكُونُ حُطَامًا. And then it becomes scattered debris. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that is the example of the life of this world. This life that we're living in is just like a beautiful green garden. It's lush, it's full of life, it's full of fruits and it's full of vegetables and it's extremely beautiful. But after a few years and after some time, it slowly starts to deteriorate. It starts to dry out and eventually becomes so dry that it becomes yellow. And after it becomes yellow, it becomes brittle and it starts to break apart. And soon enough, it has no significance. It has no importance, has no weight. It doesn't provide any benefit whatsoever. ثُمَّ يَكُونُ حُطَامًا. It's something that will just be scattered in the air. Something that had no significance whatsoever. And that's what the life of this world is like. That the life of this world, it seems extremely beautiful to us. It's extremely attractive. That everything in this world calls us towards it. And we want to be involved in it. We want to spend time in it. We want to put all of our effort, time, and energy into it. But eventually all of it will cease to exist. None of it will matter. The only thing that will be left is the consequences of our deeds. The only thing that will be left are the results of what we used to say and what we used to do. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the next part of the verse. وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٌ. That in the hereafter, the only things are the consequences, the results of our actions. So either our actions were bad, and as a result, there will be a severe punishment. Or our actions were good, and the result will be forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His pleasure. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us for what we used to do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with what we used to do. And then He tells us the reality of this world in one simple, beautiful statement. وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا مَتَاعُ الْغُرُورِ. That the life of this world is nothing but a deceptive enjoyment. That this world is something that's going to take all of us for a ride. This world is something that's going to play us, it's going to fool us, it's going to deceive us. That we're going to be living here and we're going to think that we're going to be here forever and enjoy life forever. But that is a deception. All of the enjoyments, all of the pleasures, all of the things that we do in the life of this world, they are meant to deceive us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala literally through this verse is saying, don't be played. Don't be fooled. Don't let the life of this world deceive you. And this is something that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us as well. That نِعْمَتَانِ مَغْبُونٌ فِيهِمَا كَثِيرٌ مِّنَ النَّاسِ. That there are two blessings that have completely deceived mankind. They have fooled all of us as human beings. الصِّحَّةُ وَالْفَرَاغُ. Good health and free time. These are two blessings that alhamdulillah the vast majority of us have been blessed with. But these two blessings, they deceive us. When we're healthy, we think our health is going to stay with us forever. That we'll always have the physical strength and ability to do whatever we need to do. But all of us know that that's not the reality. That's not the truth. That health is something that comes and it goes. And as we grow older and we progress in life, it's something that completely goes away. We become weak and we become feeble. Time. All of us think that we have the most time in the world. That right now we're doing something and we can always do things in the future. But all of us know that's also a deception. That we never know when we're going to leave this world. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying again, don't be fooled, don't be deceived. And the reason why I'm mentioning all of this is because now we are in the last and final stretch of this beautiful month of Ramadan. We can't let these last days and these last nights go by like we did the previous nights. We have to take advantage of these days and these nights because they might never come again. Right? We have no guarantee that we're going to live another year to see the next Ramadan. We have no guarantee that we're even going to live till the next day. So as Muslims, as conscious believers, we have to take advantage of these last and final moments of the month of Ramadan. And these nights are the nights that we have an opportunity to get maghfirah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us the only thing that matters is His forgiveness. وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ عَذَابٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٌ. The only thing that we're supposed to work for, strive for, struggle towards is gaining this forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And all of us know that one of these nights is a night of forgiveness. One of these nights, if we spend it standing in prayer, with faith, expecting reward, then all of our previous sins will be forgiven. مَنْ قَامَ لَيْلَةَ الْقَدْرِ إِيمَانًا وَاحْتِسَابًا غُفِرَ لَهُ مَا تَقَدَّمَ مِنْ ذَنْبِهِ. That whoever stands in prayer at night, on the night of power, with faith, expecting and hoping for reward, then all of their previous sins will be forgiven. And that's the way to get the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The way to earn His forgiveness is through good deeds. It's through praying, it's through fasting, it's through our recitation of the Quran, it's through charity, it's through all of these different good deeds that we can do. So it's upon us, it's our responsibility now to work hard. Right? It's time for us to roll up our sleeves, to change our perspective in life, to keep our focus on the akhirah. That yes, we do live in the life of this world, and we have to live here and we take advantage of it, but don't be fooled by it, don't be deceived by it. Our actual goal, our actual purpose and objective is the life of the hereafter. And that's what we're supposed to be working towards. So in these last few nights, spend them in worship. Right? These are nights where we can turn off our social media. We don't need to be on Facebook and Twitter. We can turn off the TV. We don't have to watch any TV shows right now. We can, avoid watching movies until the end of this month and spend our evenings in worship. Spend it inside the masjid. Spend it in prayer. Spend it in making dua. As Aisha radiallahu anha asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that if I were to catch the night of power, what should I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for? So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught her that famous dua. That Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'afu anni. That, oh Allah, you are the forgiver. You are the pardoner. And you love to forgive, so please forgive me. Right? A very simple dua. And again, the subject matter of this dua is maghfirah. It is seeking forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as we all know, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the month of Ramadan would increase in two things. He would increase in his recitation of the Quran. That every single night, the angel Jibreel would come to him and they would يَتَدَارَسُونَ al-Quran. They would recite the Quran and review the Quran with one another. So that's something that we do when we come to the Salatul Taraweeh. We're listening to the Quran and people are reciting the Quran. And the second thing is that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would become even more generous. كَانَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ أَجْوَدَ النَّاسِ. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam anyways was the most generous of people. وَكَانَ أَجْوَدُ مَا يَكُونُ فِي رَمَضَانِ. And he would be even more generous in the month of Ramadan. And the way the scholars explain it is when the Prophet ﷺ would recite the Quran, he would constantly come across verses that encourage generosity. There are so many verses throughout the Quran that talk about being generous, that talk about sharing our wealth, sharing the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, spending whatever we can for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And alhamdulillah, living here, most of us are affluent. Most of us have the means to at least share something. And there are so many projects, there are so many things that need our assistance. So don't deprive ourselves of the reward of spending in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the month of Ramadan. When our reward is multiplied and our reward is increased. There are so many things, so many opportunities for us to spend and get this reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and follow in the footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So again, don't waste time. If you want to summarize the entire khutbah, it's don't waste time. These last nights are extremely special. They are extremely precious. These are nights that we need to take advantage of. So all of us should make this firm intention to work hard, to strive, to struggle, to put forth the time and the effort and spend it in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, to give all of us the tawfiq, the ability to recognize the life of this world and the reality of it. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give all of us the ability to keep our perspective in the proper manner. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to use our time in the best of ways. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us in this month of Ramadan, to accept all of our fasts, all of our prayers. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all of our charity, all of our du'as. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the tawfiq to be amongst those lucky ones who catch the night of power, who catch Laylatul Qadr, and on that night gain the forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be from amongst those who are set free from the fire of hell and granted entrance into paradise, inshaAllah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help all of our brothers and sisters that are struggling throughout the world. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease their pain and their suffering. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove the oppression and injustice from their lives. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant them patience and to grant them victory, inshaAllah. Can I have everyone please move forward to make some more room, inshaAllah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اعلموا أنما الحياة الدنيا لعب ولهو وزينة وتفاخر بينكم وتكاثر في الأموال والأولاد كمثل غيث أعجب الكفار نباته ثم يهيج فتراه مصفرا ثم يكون حطاما وفي الآخرة عذاب شديد ومغفرة من الله ورضوان وما الحياة الدنيا إلا متاع الغرور وقد روي عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه فإنه هو الغفور الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا إننا آمنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين. اللهم تقبل منا صلاتنا. اللهم تقبل منا صيامنا. اللهم تقبل منا جميع أعمالنا. اللهم تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون. أقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله. استووا اعتدلوا تراصوا. Inshallah, make sure the lines are straight, no gaps in between. Fill in the front rows first. استووا. الله أكبر. بسم الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى. سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى. ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى. سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا. قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى. بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى. إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت وإلى السماء كيف رفعت وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر إلا من تولى وكفر فيعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر إن إلينا إيابهم ثم إن علينا حسابهم الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله استغفر الله
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jummah Mubarak to everyone. We'd like to thank our Khatib, Shaykh Furhan Zubairi, for his inspirational khutbah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. Few very important announcements. We'd like to make dua for Amjad Ali Khan, who passed away today, this morning in Denver. He's the uncle of our Shaykh Abdul Wahab. Shaykh Abdul Wahab went and took a flight to Denver this morning and is participating in the burial proceedings over there. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him maghfirah. And also we'd like to make dua for Asrar Siddiqui, who is the uncle of Mina Siddiqui, who also passed away yesterday. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Quick reminders. There are boxes that are labeled with Zakatul Fitr, which is $10 per person for every member of your family. Make sure that everybody puts $10 on behalf of every member of your family before Salatul Eid. There's also Zakat al-Mal, which is a 2.5% of your extra wealth that you have. Make sure it goes in the appropriate box. Last but not least, tomorrow is our Khatmul Quran program. It's going to be a very busy night, and all three sections downstairs will be open for the men, and all the classrooms and the lobbies will be opened upstairs for the women. It will be a festive night, along with we'll have some fundraising. We'll also be having some food, halwa puri and stuff. We'll also be having the Super Smash Buns food truck that will be selling burgers outside as well. So they'll be coming through town, and it will be a very enlightening evening for everybody. So please, we ask everybody to come. And the purpose for the fundraising is to get the remainder of our Qard al-Hassan balance. Our target is 150,000 from now till the end of Ramadan. If anybody can give anything, we want 100% participation from everyone, inshallah, whether it's a few dollars or $100 or a couple $100. Whatever the case may be, please make sure that you participate, inshallah, and give on behalf of yourself and your families. Other than that, we have our second Hajj group package, which is now enrolling. The first one is sold out. And we're also having a December Umrah group with Shaykh Ahmad Kurdi and Ustad Wissam Sharif, which is also starting to fill up. So if you're interested in Hajj or Umrah in December, please see Sister Lisa and give your name over there so you can be contacted with details. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.